Hey, I'm Glenn. I'm the founder of the Happy Cow Milk Company, and I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes taking you through our investment document, and I want to explain to you how we're changing the world of dairy. So our mission is to create a more caring, a kinder, and a fairer dairy industry. And in order to do that, we need to make ethical and sustainable dairy actually more profitable dairy. And that's essentially what Happy Cow Milk is doing. We want farmers that do the good thing to actually make more money, and at the moment it's the other way around. But before we get onto the problems and how we're going to solve them, this is our offer to you. We're selling shares in Happy Cow Milk Company at $4 a share. We have a minimum investment of $100, and we want to raise a minimum of $200,000. That will enable us to keep going, launch our Christchurch farm, and basically keep bootstrapping Happy Cow Milk. But it would be really great if we could get $1 million, because that enables us to fund Happy Cow Milk properly, put proper people in place, and we can actually start scaling. And we've got some pretty big plans, which I'll talk about later. So the theme of this document is I want to say, look, we've built this milk factory in a box. We've had it approved by the Food Safety Authority. We've got it onto a farmer's farm. He's using it. We're selling milk. We're generating revenue. And we've got a pipeline of farmers who are willing to, or waiting for Happy Cow equipment. So that's essentially where we are, and we need some more money to basically keep us going and get us to that next step where we get to profitability. I'd like to take a minute to explain what actually is the issue with the dairy industry. So if you're a farmer in the dairy industry, most of the time you have to follow all the rules of the dairy industry. There's set standards and benchmarks and KPIs that farmers are pressured to follow, and they're all pretty intensive dairy farming practices. And if you're beholden to a bank, the bank will want you to meet certain KPIs. Farm owners, farm advisors, business partners, all these people are all on board with trying to keep intensive dairy going, trying to get basically as much milk as possible at the lowest price possible. Now, I call that bad milk, and that gets some people very angry, but that's my opinion. And on the other hand, we have good milk, and this is from farmers. There are farmers around, there's quite a lot of them, and they have the ability to kind of step out of the dairy system a little bit. And they basically just take their foot off the throttle. They produce less milk, their costs are a bit higher, they're less intensive, and they make, well, less money basically. And the real issue that I'm trying to point out here with the dairy industry is that the standard status quo of dairy incentivizes intense dairy. And if you want to do a different sort of dairy, it's actually a disincentive. You're discouraged. You know, when you make those farming decisions to be less intensive, you do it knowing you're going to make less money. So at the moment, ethical, sustainable dairy means making less money. We need to flip that round. We need to make it the other way, and that's what Happy Cow Milk is here to do. We want ethical, sustainable dairy to be the most profitable type of dairy. So we kind of got three problems that I sort of focus on. One problem is this dairy industry that incentivizes intensive dairy. And the second issue, it's actually really hard for customers to buy milk from, I guess, a farmer that they can trust and they can know with certainty in their heart that they're farming really, really well. You know, we buy brands that we sort of hope are doing well, but we don't really know because there's not much communication or authenticity behind them. You know, it's funny, we live in this age where local milk is just almost impossible to get. So we've got all these good farmers out there as well who are doing the right thing, farming the way we want them to. They don't feel that the reputation the dairy industry has applies to them, and they would like to be acknowledged, and they also want to tell their story and feel like they're doing a good job. And these farmers would love to sell their milk to their local market, but it's actually really hard to do. It's a huge undertaking, it's quite risky, it's a lot of money, and for most farmers they just sort of think it's actually too difficult to even try. So at Happy Cow Milk, we're looking at these three problems and we're kind of solving them all at once. So Happy Cow Milk is a system that enables farmers to supply their milk to local customers. We've created the milk processing hardware that goes onto the farms of these good farmers, enables them to process milk fast and efficiently. We've got the software that enables them to undertake the regulatory compliance, which is no joke. We've got the distribution systems that make it easy for them to distribute milk to retailers efficiently. We've got our milk dispensers that enable customers to buy milk in reusable packaging. And then we've got our customer app that enables customers to find their farmers, find outlets and pay for milk. And the whole goal of the system is that we need good farmers to be able to supply their local community. We want the local community to know that they can support a great farmer and they're supporting good milk, not the bad milk. And the result is those farmers actually make twice as much money as if they were just supplying a normal milk factory. And what that means is ethical, sustainable, non-intensive dairy is actually the most profitable type of dairy. Now the way Happy Cow Milk works is we sell this milk processing hardware to farmers at cost price. So we don't make money on the hardware. We want it as cheap and simple as easy for farmers to set up. So we give them the equipment, we then help them to find their customers, we help them to sell their milk with marketing and sales and that sort of stuff. And the way we make money is we charge a royalty, 17% royalty on all the milk sold by the farmer. So if a farmer's got around 60 cows and they're selling 1,000 litres a day, they'd have about 15 customers or outlets that stock their milk. And Happy Cow Milk would make around $120,000 a year from that farmer. So at the heart of the Happy Cow system is our milk factory in a box. And this is really a system that we've developed that makes it easy and simple for farmers to process milk. So a key feature of our milk factory in a box is it's modular. It means that farmers can start small and just grow incrementally as their business grows. So they can start with a base unit and one process base. That means they can process one tank at a time. As demand grows, they can just spend a few $1,000s and add a second process bay, and then a third and a fourth and a fifth. This is a real advantage because a lot of farmers will look at processing milk and they've got to buy the equipment that they would need for their maximum capacity from day one, before they've even sold any milk. So this system allows farmers to get a start at very low cost. So Happy Cow Milk doesn't just provide the equipment and the hardware, we also provide the support that enables farmers to start selling milk. That's like, how do you approach cafes and retailers and caterers? We help with marketing, we help with regulatory compliance, food testing, all the things that a farmer needs to deal with in order to sell milk. So our milk dispenser can be set up into different configurations to suit the different outlets that it's in. We have a version that will go into cafes, we have a retail version, we have a catering version, and we even have a home delivery version. So having a dispenser that can go into all these different environments means it's easier for farmers to sell their milk. And of course, farmers who inquire with Happy Cow Milk are generally farming a pretty good way, but when you're buying milk from Happy Cow, we sort of guarantee that the farmers are farming in the way that you can be proud of. And of course, that includes our cow and calf system, and it's generally a low intensity pasture-based system. So this is really important. How much money can a farmer make by selling their milk to their local community? So I've shown 3 examples here: 10 cows, 30 cows, and 60 cows. 10 cows is about as low as you'd want to go, and a farmer would need to supply about 4 outlets to sell the milk from 10 cows. So now this income is actually milk on top of what they would normally get if they would sell it to a milk factory. So this is the additional income from selling it to their local community. And because the farmer is now the milk processor and the distributor, there's additional costs as well. So that's why there's a gas cost, there's a power cost, milk testing. I've put labour in there for the farmer to pay themselves, and obviously there's a vehicle cost. So with 10 cows, a farmer's basically breaking even after they've paid themselves some wages. So you're not going to get rich on 10 cows. But if you jump up to 30 cows, a farmer would need around 7 to 10 outlets selling their milk. And it starts to get worthwhile here. A farmer would be paying themselves around $80,000 a year for their labour. And at the end of the year, there's around $60,000 of surplus. So if you look at the hardware costs that they would need to spend to start supplying that level of milk, they could pay that off in about 2 years. But things get quite good when you are milking 60 cows. You'd have about 11 to 20 outlets, and it's a 2-person business. The farmer would be paying themselves plus someone else. And you can see there's around 167,000 dropping out the bottom as a surplus. And that farmer would pay off their equipment cost in about a year or a year and a bit. So the point we're making is you can have a small herd that farms relatively unintensively and still make a really good living. Okay, so this is Chris, our farmer that we've partnered with in the Waikato, and You know, Chris just typifies what I've been talking about good milk. He's one of these guys that makes numerous management decisions that are better for the environment and better for his cows. And I really recommend you jump onto the Country Calendar website and watch the episode that they filmed with him back in July. Okay, so where are we today? Basically, we've built this milk factory in a box. No one's really ever built anything like this before, and we've had it approved by the food safety authorities, and we've got a farmer who's using it and selling milk. We're a good way testing all the systems, all the electronic systems, the software systems, as well as all the paperwork and the back end, gearing up for us to be able to add more farmers. And we've got 2 farmers who are waiting to launch Happy Cow Milk on their farms. So we're inviting you to become a shareholder in Happy Cow Milk that will give us the capital that we need to execute the plan to add more and more farmers. So we've got some pretty big plans for Happy Cow Milk. Our first major goal is 500 farms around the world. And if we can get 500 farms with roughly 60 cows each, we'd have a revenue of around $50 million per year. And I'm having Zoom calls every week with farmers around the world who have heard about Happy Cow Milk and are wanting to install it on their farms. So I'll elaborate on this a little bit further down, but what I wanted to say is that, you know, we're serious about scaling ethical and sustainable dairy. We don't want this just to be a niche thing. We really want to be a serious global business that really is scaling ethical and sustainable dairy. So we're launching into Christchurch in the new year, and we're partnering with Professor Pablo Gregorini from Lincoln University. So I've known Pablo for a couple of years now, and his research is focusing on how to build better farms, or farms that are built around the animal rather than around us. And a lot of his research is showing that when a cow is happy and content and she's fed a diverse pasture species, she actually produces healthier milk, and they can prove it in the lab. And with our partnership with Pablo, they want to use our Happy Cow app to see if customers can taste the difference in the milk. So this will be a slightly different business model for us. We'll be running this farm in-house, meaning that we will buy the milk from Pablo and then we'll process it ourselves and we'll distribute it ourselves. Now, I've been talking to Kevin for a couple of years now. Kevin is a regenerative beef farmer from Southern California. He sells his regenerative beef all around the US. He also sells a bit of raw milk, and he's wanting to go and expand their milk business, particularly into San Diego. So we've signed a letter of intent, and basically once we've tested our equipment here in New Zealand and we know it's working reliably, we're going to send it over to Kevin and help him basically move into the San Diego market. So as I mentioned, our first major goal is 500 farms around the world. So it may sound like a lot, but it's actually also not a lot. So if you take a look at New Zealand, we've got 11,000 dairy farmers in New Zealand, and on average they have 400 cows each. Our goal for New Zealand is to get 21 farmers to milk 60 cows and supply their local market. So that's 21 farmers out of 11,000 farmers. I think that's quite a realistic goal. And we're going to take that same principle and apply it to all the other countries around the world. If you go to Germany, there's 77,000 dairy farmers in Germany, and we would like just 130 of them to use our equipment. And if we look at USA, there's 45,000 dairy farmers in the USA, and we would like to convert 82 of them to using the Happy Cow Milk model. So I just want to take this point. Farmers are coming under all sorts of pressure around the world to reduce their intensity. They've got fertilizer restrictions, nitrogen restrictions, and of course emissions restrictions. And farmers are trying to solve the problem of how do they reduce intensity, which is basically reduce stock numbers, and still stay profitable or still make the same amount of money. And what Happy Cow Milk does is we enable them to stop supplying a milk factory, but to supply direct to the customer, and therefore they make double the money. So again, coming back to that point, we're enabling less intensive ethical dairy farmers to make more money than the alternative. And why would they want to use Happy Cow Milk equipment? And remember I said we sell our hardware at cost price. When a farmer looks around the world and thinks, where am I going to buy my processing equipment? Happy Cow Milk is a fraction of the cost of everyone else's, because we don't make our money from hardware. We also have this integrated system where they're not just buying the hardware, it comes with regulatory compliance. It also comes with all the software, and it comes with the dispensers and a full-time support from Happy Cow Milk. So Happy Cow's product is pretty attractive to the right sort of farmers out there. And from the conversations I'm having with farmers around the world, I'm pretty sure once they can see what we're running, we're going to hit these targets. And we've still got the original Happy Cow team. We've got David, the mechanical engineer, who basically oversees all the technical side of the business and the electronics and the design of dispensers and all those sorts of things. And he really is quite smart, and we wouldn't be where we are without David. We've got Sam. Sam's written all the software, and he's going to oversee or continue to oversee the software development. But a new addition was Sarah Young, who came in about a year ago, and she's basically acts as our financial controller and makes sure all our finances are in order. The what we need table is basically showing where we'd put the money if we get the minimum raise or the maximum raise. Essentially, with the minimum raise, we'll keep bootstrapping, and I think we can still get our 3 farms, but we won't have much money to spend on R&D, so our systems will be quite clunky, but they'll probably do the job. If we can get our maximum raise, it'll enable us to basically put resources into fine-tuning and refining all the equipment and also the back-end systems that enable us to be able to start scaling fast. Okay, so this is our share offer. Basically, if we get our minimum raise, we'll be issuing 50,000 new shares. And if we get our maximum raise, we'll be issuing 250,000 new shares. Onto our financials. So if you look here, I've included our 2021 and 2022 actual results. As you can see, we weren't selling any milk, but we did receive around $20,000 in grants and awards in each year. And as you can see, most of our money has gone into R&D, and we've got losses of $300,000 for both years. So if we look at the 2023 year, we've started to generate income from our independent farmer in Waikato. We'll be starting the Happy Cow farm here in Christchurch, which will be generating revenue, but we've still got quite a lot of costs where the amount of milk we're selling isn't covering those costs yet. Into the 2024 year, we've added 7 farmers, and as you can see, a big chunk of our money is going to R&D, and that's basically preparing to scale up for the next year. And in 2025, we need to get to roughly 20 farmers before we're starting to generate some decent returns. There's a lot of back-end systems, particularly around the regulatory compliance, that we need to build out that's going to enable us to support those 19 farmers. So if we look in the 2024 and 2025 year, you'll see our hardware sales and our hardware costs are exactly the same. And as I mentioned before, we sell our hardware to farmers at cost price. What this means for us as a business is we're not actually out of pocket when we grow. But because our capital outlay is immediately replaced, we can continue to grow quickly. I'd just like to mention investor returns. A lot of you are investing because you'd love to see a change in the dairy industry and see a better dairy industry, but you also want to receive a return on your investment. And I hope I've just showed to you today that we've got a business model that is going to build a profitable and a global business. So I expect your shares to increase in value, and I expect to also pay dividends. But that's not going to happen for a couple of years. We really need to get to that point where we're above 20 farmers at least before we'll start paying money out. But in all likelihood, we'll just keep reinvesting the profits back into the business to fund growth. So I'll wrap it up there. That's a quick run through our investment document. If you've got any questions, please email me, glenn@happycowmilk.co.nz. We'll do a Q&A session soon, and we'll put that up on our website and our newsletter. And I really hope that you'll come on board as a Happy Cow shareholder. I'm pretty excited about the future, and I couldn't be more appreciative of our crowd. So thank you very much.